What's up guys, Jim Collector here, back again with another unboxing and review, and today I have one of the most exciting releases for the year, at least for me anyway. I have been so eager to get the T-800 back into the collection since selling my DX13 in anticipation that we would be getting a 2.0, and it is finally here. So guys, without further ado, let's get stuck right in. Right then guys, so let's get cracking with this. So you do have the box, obviously. It does say T2 in a nice shiny metallic embossed bit here. Then you got Terminator 2 Judgment Day, T-800 Battle Damage version 2.0, and it is the DX46. Pretty nice box art. This is kind of the standard DX box that we're kind of used to now. It always has this pull-out bit as well. It's got the normal information on the back of all the different shows, with the new one, Powergate, as well included on there. And then just more of the same on the tops and on the sides, basically. But we slide this on out. We try to do it gracefully for camera and fail, obviously. And there we have the box. Now, I love these, and I have already decided that I'm going to basically take these and start sticking them on my wall, because they just go back in the box, which is a shame because they're quite nice presentation. God, their head sculpts look so good. These are photos of the figure as well, which I love to see because that just looks so freaking awesome. Alright, then we get our first look at the figure. I really like all the presentation here, really reminiscent of the film. It's even got the targeting rectangle thing there that they use to target and stuff through their robotic eyes. But we slide that off, and there is that glorious foam tray. I love it when they do foam. Let's have a quick look at Arnie straight away, and we're going to get more closer looks at him later, but straight away, bosh, there we go. He looks a bit weird with this bit around here. Oh, so all right, the neck connectors pretty huge on this. So it's quite a large one, so you can access through to that one eye, if you can see there. So he has the one movable eye, because obviously this one is robotic. It would have been interesting if they were able to make this movable as well. I'm not sure how they would do that, to be fair to them, so I'm not going to knock any points off of that, but that would have been like a step above, you know what I mean? And I think because of this neck connector here as well, it's going to be easier to pop the head sculpt on and not mess up the eyes like we keep having with a lot of these recent releases. Now, as we all know, this is... I'll leave these on for a minute. In fact, let me take these off and I'll be right back. All right, we're back without all the plastic on top. And of course, guys, we know that this is real leather throughout. Real leather trousers, real leather belt, real leather jacket. And I am so impressed with how thin this jacket material is and how malleable it is as well. The original one, even though it was pleather, was kind of chunky, hard to move around. This doesn't feel like it's gonna have that kind of an issue, and you get good range of motion with it as well. Like better range of motion than you would in real life with a leather jacket on, I think. Okay, forwards it's a little bit harder. He does get a bit stuck up there, but in terms of articulation, we do get double bend on the joints. This is... Oh. Can you hear that? Beautiful ratchet. Really solid ratchet in the elbow as well. And obviously it's a fully silicone arm here, so it has a bit of squidge on it, which is kind of interesting. This looks absolutely beautiful. Look at the shine you're getting off from that chrome paint. Amazing, like all the paintwork and all the damaged flesh, the blood, so much better than that original. You can kind of see all the chrome shining through here as well. It really like distinguishes itself over the original, because the original, this wasn't, it was darker, you know, and now it really stands out. We do have the less damaged head, so this is the more battle damage head on here right on stock, but we do have the other one. But yeah, look at that detail. That is glorious. And obviously down to the leg, this is disgusting. That is just purely gruesome. This looks very much like the same as the original, if I'm being completely honest. This is kind of almost a soft plastic here, but there is just a single bend, barely even a single bend on that knee on that side, but then you do get the double bend on the other leg, which is nice to see. Can you get a decent amount of range of motion as well? A little bit of strain on the seam there, so I'd be careful with that. With the boots, tiny bit of side to side, bit of up and down as well, not loads. The boot does kind of travel, I believe. I'm not going to fuff around, but yeah, the boot goes up to about here. So it does travel, so it's not a split cut boot, which I think I'm okay with. I don't think I need to do many dynamic poses with this guy, to be honest, where that's going to be an issue. Now, the lapel is, this is all like, what is it, sewn down, so stitched down, so you can't pop the collar or anything on him, but that also means that these are stitched down into this kind of like position here, so they hang quite nicely, so I do really like that. Oh, and even just like the subtle weathering here as well, it just looks like a real leather jacket. And they even have like a few bullet holes and stuff, because obviously quite early on he gets shot in the back by the T-1000 when he first finds John Connor, so that's quite interesting. When you're messing around with this leg, just be careful, because I do worry that this could rip. That was the same issue on the original one, and be careful with this t-shirt as well. Don't pull around with this too much so you rip these small threads. But there we go, that's our first look at him. Let's have a quick look through the accessories, starting with the less battle damage head. And this does have two movable eyes on this one rather than just one. What do we think of that lightness, guys? What do we think of that? Is it better than the original? Is it worse than the original? Less Arnie or more Arnie? Hard decision to make, I think. For me, I think it looks a little bit better. Now, the caveat on that, I was thinking about this the other day. The paint apps on this are a lot nicer, so that could be why. But I remember in the original sculpt, his face looked way too round for me. Like, I think they've got his brow a little bit better in the original, and the eyebrows, maybe. But I think overall, this is his face shape as I remember it. And once you get it in hand, it looks even better. Like, they've got the way that his like cheek and chin kind of juts forwards and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really, really good sculpt. And of course you've got some improvements on the sculpted hair as well, but it's not massively noticeable. And although this is definitely an improvement over the DX13, it's not as, the DX13 was so good that if you decide not to upgrade, I don't think that's the end of the world. I think you could probably still be happy with your DX13, but I will say this is definitely better for me. Right then, what else do we have? We of course have this grenade launcher that he uses, I believe, in the police scene when they're at Cyberdyne. So this is pretty cool, because I don't think we got this in the original. We had the grenades, which you can use with that obviously, but he didn't have this. I think he used this to pop smoke into their mitt. So this is really nice to see. It's a really basically detailed weapon. There's not a lot going on. It's just kind of a straight up black with some speckling and stuff, but this does rotate, which is quite nice to see. And I think, is that what it does? Yeah, it just has that rotational part there. We do then of course get the grenade launcher, which does have some movable parts. You can, I believe, watch me break this on my first try. Yep, you can open it like so, so you can kind of do a reloading pose if you want to for that, so that's nice to see. And this is really nicely painted with the distress at the bottom of the stock here, and the nice wood finish is really nicely done. I feel like this is better than the original. The sight comes out as well, so you can have that up or down, so very nice, very, very nice. And I'm not even going to try and say, is this an M16? I don't know. I'm not going to try it any more than that. But this is really nice. It has a moving stock, which is pretty cool as well. You can remove the magazine. I always love that function. I never use it in my posing, but I love that it can do it. And again, this is a relatively basic black gun. There's not a lot going on. No chrome or anything like that. It's pretty clean. It does have, oh, I didn't notice that. There we go. It's got some detail on the side there. Semi-auto, safe, auto. That's pretty cool. And he's got that little bit there. That's nice. I like it. I like it. We then, of course, have this gun that he gets from the biker right at the beginning of the film, along with his, you know, his boots, his motorcycle, and all that stuff. That was a terrible accent. But this is nicely done. Good chrome on here as well. So I do like that. A bit of gold popping on the side. course, it does cock back like so, so that's really nice. It is all plastic. All these weapons are plastic. There is no die cast. And of course, the magazine does pop out as well. What is this? This is going to be for the other head sculpt. Yes, okay, so this will be for this to pop on. So it does have that. So you just slide that out. Oh, I quite like that. And then you can access the eyes, so you don't have that seam that you had on the DX13 where you popped off the back of his head. So this just slides off, and it fits into that groove as well. That's quite nice. I like this system more. I feel like that's gonna, because the amount of times you'll pose, although I've knocked his eye, the amount of times you'll pose up and knock his eyes around. Did I just do it with this anyway? Maybe it's not better. I'll find out later. Right, moving on, we of course have this epic battle damaged arm. This is awesome. There's absolutely no articulation on here at all, and I wish I still had my original one, but I sold my original about a week before the 2.0 came up for pre-order, so it was good timing on my part. But I feel like the original had a bit of articulation, and this looks slightly different, but I could be wrong. This is definitely different, all of that, but yeah, I wish I had the original to compare the two, because I feel like this is different from the original, but still absolutely beautiful. It's weird saying beautiful about a severed arm, but there we go. Alright, and you do get the bandolier here as well, which is nice. These are die cast as well. Like, there's actual metal on these bits. No die cast guns, but these are pretty good. That's pretty good. This is nice. I'm not going to say much about this. The bullets are pretty good. You can actually slide them in and out as well. They do have a bit of detail on them. This is similar to what we got. It's like a slightly improved over the original version, I think, because there was some pleather on that, whereas there isn't any now. Next, we do have a selection of hands as well. I think these are pretty much the same as the original, but they are much better painted than what I remember. Sculpts do look the same because you've got that kind of robotic finger sticking out. There is it. The detail, I can't get in close enough on this camera, but the detail, let's see if it will let me. The detail on this is incredible, just like layering through that as well with such a small piece. That must be quite hard to do, but you don't get a load of hands. Was it 2, 4, 6? So 8 in total with the 2 on the figure. So you don't get loads, but you do get some. Obviously you get the thumbs up hand, you get this kind of gun holding hand, a couple of fist hands as well, and different other various hands as well. This will be to hold the metal pole that you get as well, but everything else has a basic purpose. And then on the figure is a couple of relaxed hands. Alright, then under this tray we have the rest of the goodies. So this right here is his second jacket. Oh, good. See that nice layering through here? It's so light and malleable as well. Like, it's crazy how I shouldn't have done that. How easy that is to kind of maneuver. I'll see how easy it is to slide on the figure in a little bit, and I'll feed back to you. But just as nice as the original. So much nice paintwork and detailing and weathering. It's just like a shrink ray has been applied to a leather jacket, and I'm here for it. Alright, and here we have the first part of the diorama base. This is so awesome, guys. I love this kind of diorama style that they've gone for, and it's huge as well. I mean, yeah, it is quite big. These are real metal chains as well. They're not plastic, they're actual metal, so that's really cool. This is plastic, but it's quite cold to the touch, so it almost gives it a metallic feel, but it is definitely plastic. And then this grate, I believe, yeah, that's plastic as well, but real metal chains, so that's quite nice. The paintwork, really well done. Love how that looks, and on both sides as well. They haven't gone completely plain on this side. So that's going to be an interesting bit for photography there. I like that. All right, moving on. We have more of the base. We do, of course, have these. Sometimes it's so hard to get the stuff out. We'll just look at the one. You get 2 of these, 1 for each side, the railings. Oh man, this takes me back to when I first watch Terminator 2 around a friend's house when I was way too young to be watching it. And man, I cried at the end of that film. I'm not even embarrassed to admit that. That was just the truth. That film was heart-wrenching. But God, what a film. What a film. And it holds up even to this day, I'd say. But there we go. These are nicely detailed and painted. Lots of weathering going on throughout as well, which is really nice to see. So I do love these. Another part as well. I believe this is the actual operating arms that they use to lower him down. That's just diabolical that that's included in here. But that's so cool. And they move as well. They move. I love that. That is so awesome. But I'm getting way too excited by a couple of movable levers that do nothing. But yeah, that's dope. That's dope. And then under here, we get this absolutely epic base. This is so awesome. So awesome. I absolutely love this. It's got a light up bit here as well, which kind of has lava. Well, no, it's not lava. I'm going to call it lava. It has lava, molten metal effects going on underneath as well, which is really cool. And then we'll check out the glow later on, but it's going to cast a really awesome glow. I love this. This is so cool. This is really nice. And of course, it does say Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and it kind of has, like, it's quite nicely put on there. It's almost like a very 80s kind of feel, like the italics and everything like that. It's yeah, that's pretty cool. I am enjoying that. And of course, this is USB-C here as well, and it has this little switch at the back, and then you got the bits where you fit in obviously the rest of the base. But guys, this is awesome. Right, of course, that is pretty much it. There are a couple bits. You do, of course, get your eye tool as well, like you normally do to move the eyes around. And you get the little crotch grabber. I'm not going to faff around with that too much. My only thing with this is one step above. If they match this to this. If this kind of matched in with that, so it kind of blended in nicely, that would be cool, rather than just this plain plastic. But I'm probably just asking for too much. Right, guys, that is everything that we've seen. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this guy set up, and we'll see what else we can do with him. Alright, so here we go with pose 1. And normally I go for kind of a bare bones pose for the first one, and I kind of have with this, but I just felt it really important to include the base with the first pose, because the base is a huge part of this release. It really kind of levels it up in the display, at least in my opinion. And you can see right here, just on the turntable, it just, as a collective, it just looks so good. And anyone out there that has the T-1000 as a pairing, these are going to look absolutely fantastic together. You get both of these plugged in and side by side and lit up. Honestly, that is a masterful display right there for any T2 fan. The figure itself, just standing here, looks great, and he's all decked out right here with all of his weapons. So I've got the pistol tucked into his belt. He's holding the they're kind of two grenade launchers, but the gas launcher and the grenade launcher in both hands. He has his I'm going to say M16. I still don't know the name of that weapon on his back, and he has the bandolier there with all the grenade shells as well. And he just has a really imposing look. When you get him all together like this as well, head sculpt looks good. It's not, I've had this for a little while now, and I've thought a lot about the head sculpt. It's definitely not perfect, but it's pretty good. There's a few things you could probably work on, and we'll take a deeper dive into the head sculpt right now. So let's talk about just quality first. This is a really well done head sculpt. The detail on the skin, the paint apps, the coloration of the chrome, the layering of the damage from the damaged skin into the metal skull underneath. It looks superb. And also the paint on the blood and like just the damage aspects. It has a nice wet glossy look, which kind of gives it another level of realism that I really have come to appreciate on this figure. Now, going into likeness, for me, this is a really strong likeness. This is an 8, maybe an 8.5 out of 10 for myself personally, but it's not perfect. From this angle, I think it's pretty good. I think it encapsulates Arnie's kind of face shape pretty well. This is the more battle damage version of the two sculpts, and we will analyze the less battle damage one later on, because that's a better representation of his likeness. But all in all, I think this is pretty good. I know there's a lot of discussion about this with the DX13 A lot of people say paint apps on this is better, lightness on the DX13 is better, and I think that that is partially true, almost. I prefer this lightness. The DX13 to me always looked a bit too round, and we'll see that kind of on this head-on shot now. There is something off about this. I can't quite tell what it is. The DX13 for me, as I just said, was always too round of a sculpt, but there's elements of that work better. The scowl that it had is definitely better than this kind of more serious stoic look. His eyebrows I thought were closer to Arnie's as well, but for me everything else kind of looks more accurate on this one. His cheekbones, his jaw, the kind of way his mouth sits as well, even his chin. Actually, the chin might be the one area where it's slightly off, but we are working off essentially half a face here, so it's not a perfect representation. So we'll have a look at this a little bit later on with the less damaged sculpt. Now, going into this angle here, this is, and most head sculpts are angle dependent, right? They just are. Human faces don't stay still in different positions. We look slightly different, so it is difficult to make all head sculpts look perfect from every angle. This is definitely the worst angle here, ironically on the less battle damage side. I don't know if it's just the angle of the camera I got on this, but this isn't the best look. I'll admit that from this side for me. I think they could have done this slightly better. Now, interestingly, when I looked at the other sculpts, I didn't find an angle like this. I kind of like that more from most angles, but then, you know, faces aren't exactly the same both sides, so it's a difficult one to nail down. I still stand by an 8 out of 10, 8.5 possibly for me, but this is the weaker side of this head sculpt for sure. Now it's time to talk details, because this figure has so many details, right from the sculpting work of the boots here, which nicely do go up past to about mid-calf. Even like the zips as well look really nicely done. The way they hang works really well. The zippers aren't metal, they are plastic. Even the damage here on the leg, just everything about this looks so good. And this is obviously real leather, so you do have that element of longevity with it as well. But look at the paint apps. Now this leg is pretty much exactly the same as the DX13, but that wet blood, the metal chrome paint, it just looks absolutely gorgeous. Even all the speckling of the blood up on the skin there, it looks great. And then into the torso as well, again, fantastic paint apps. But all the stress detail on the leather jacket has just been done so well and so realistically. It just looks great. And the proportions of the jacket, the tailoring of it, superb. Now onto the weapons. Of course, the weapons are a big deal. You do actually get a fair amount with this release. Really nicely detailed. They are more plain and simple than a lot of guns that we do tend to get, especially this one here. It does kind of have a metallic look to it, but it's just a plain black. Not a lot of weathering on this either as well, which is interesting to see. And then you do get the pistol, which I do have tucked into the belt, but this is a bit more visually interesting. And again, the paint and sculpt work, really nicely done. The grenade launcher is the best done out of all of them, I think. Just the stock, the paint finish, it's just really nice, and it makes it more visually interesting than some of the other weapons. And of course we have to talk about this base, because this base honestly is phenomenal. So you have the name plaque here, which I like how they've done this. It's a nice way to kind of emboss it a little bit. Then you have the backdrop. I really like the detail and paint apps on here, the metal chains, the grate, everything about this, like it's just done really nice. There's no soft elements to it that I could pick out. It just looks superb. And then of course you do have the light up function, and it casts a really nice glow as well. It's not super bright, but it really creates a nice element of a fiery molten metal glow around the figure. And then, like I said in the unboxing section, I'm just a bit obsessed that the levers can actually move, you know, the ones that he pulls to lower himself into the molten lead in the smelting factory. It's just so good. All right, moving on to pose 2. And I mean, by now if you've been watching my videos, you know I'm a sucker for a good walking pose, and this is one of the harder figures to get a good walking pose for me. I'm gonna have to futz around with this a little bit more just myself to try and nail it down, but the legs don't come close enough together to make it look super realistic. And because of the design of the boots, although super accurate, it makes it, he doesn't balance as well. It took me a while to get him to balance as he does on the turnstile right here. But this is a nice pose. You don't need to do too dynamic with him, I don't think, just because he is an imposing figure. He is a Terminator. He's meant to be stoic and motionless, and he just kind of plows forth with unrelenting tenacity. That's kind of who he is. But we've got him up here with the machine gun raised and ready, and this is so like 90s 80s action movies where they just don't aim for the sight, they just kind of shoot from the hip with hyper accurate shots, which you just don't see anymore. But yeah, so I do quite like this pose. This is nice. And we have, of course, switched out to the other head sculpt, so we're going to take a look at that now. So this is the less damaged sculpt, so you get more of the Arnie likeness, so it's probably a better comparison really to make in terms of lightness. And I think this again is really strong now that we can see more of his face shape and facial structure. For me, I'm still going to stick with an 8.5 out of 10 personally. I think again the paint apps in this sculpt really nice. The damage and the skin and the kind of wet glossy paint look, just superb. It does look a little bit different looks wise than the others. I would say his head here almost has too much of a, it looks too wide on top, too narrow on the bottom for me from this kind of position that we have. But that is just so Arnie there for me. I see him there as I kind of remember him. He does kind of have, his head's just not so round, and that's just, and Hot Toys normally they square off the heads a bit too much on a lot of their head sculpts, but that's not an issue that they seem to have with this, which is nice to see. Again, this angle, this side of his face is the weaker likeness, I think, for me on both sculpts, which is quite interesting to see, but that's still Arnie there, quite visible to me. Really good paintwork on this sculpt, similar to the other one as well. Similar expression as we have. It looks like they haven't really changed up the expression at all, which I kind of wish they might have done. Maybe an angrier one on the battle damage sculpt would have been nice to see. Alright, so pose number 3 is a pose, I'll be honest, I'll definitely never use. This is him in his t-shirt look, utilizing the fully seamless silicone arms, which I still think is almost a random inclusion from Hot Toys' part on this. And the seamless arms do pose a couple issues. It makes the jacket for me harder to put on than if they were sculpted, so I do find that slightly frustrating. And you can see kind of on the seamless arms as well, the kind of lip at the end where his the wrist pegs are is a bit unsightly. And of course then there's the issue with the t-shirt being a bit too baggy around his shoulders. It kind of gives the illusion, because these are big arms here, they've done the arms really well, but the t-shirt looks too, because it's baggier at the shoulders, it doesn't look quite as good. Everything else is nice though. The musculature in his back looks really good, the t-shirt is nicely done, so there's that. Alright, so we're moving on to pose number 3 now, and this is kind of an homage to the end of the film. I can't quite recreate that, but I've got him in his more battle damage look, so we switched out the arm, we have the other jacket on as well, and we're utilizing that epic thumbs up hand as well, because like for me that's one of the most iconic scenes from the film, is when he's got his thumbs up as he is lowered into the molten metal. And I quite like this pose as well. It's quite simple, it's quite basic, it's nothing incredible. I had my DX13 in something similar back when I used to have that, and I left him in that pose for quite a long time, to be honest. And yeah, I think it's turned out quite nicely. Got his leg a little bit janky on with his metal leg there, but let's just ignore that for now. Now I do really like this look all in all. The damaged arm looks really good, the way it comes out of the jacket as well. It's easier to slide that arm through the jacket than the silicone arm as well, I'll tell you that much. So that is it's one thing to consider. Switching out these jackets can be a bit of a pain. It's not the worst thing I've ever experienced, but it's a little bit frustrating. And of course just the sculpt work on the hands, again, just going to go back to that, is just excellent. I mean, there's so much, like the way they've painted the blood in this figure, and I've mentioned this a few times, I might sound like a record, is so good because it has that really wet glossy feel, and it looks gnarly. It really does. Like, it even looks like there's wet blood kind of dribbling around that hand there, as you can see, kind of around the knuckles. Gruesome. And then these are all plastic, these metal bits in here. There is no die cast in this figure whatsoever, but these do look really good, and they are really painted with some nice chrome, but also you can kind of see the red from the blood and such going through. Alright guys, we are nearing the end of the video now. This is our final pose. I've kept it similar, so we've still got the fully battle damaged arm, but he is loaded with the grenade launcher, and I actually I'm liking this pose quite a lot. It's probably how I'm going to leave him in after this review, not just because it's the final pose. But we do need to give a rating, but before we give the rating, I think it's impossible because, you know, I've talked a lot about the good points, but there are some negatives to this figure that I think it's important that we discuss. The first of being the neck. This kind of mottled skin here, it's just too textured. It doesn't really fit with his, as you can see, the head sculpts there. It's just a bit of an oversight. You don't really see it when he's on the shelf, but when you have him in hand a little bit closer, you can see it, and it's a little bit unsightly. So that's something that I wish they wouldn't have done for this. It just seems a bit random. The skin everywhere else is relatively smooth. Why did they do that? It's just strange. Secondly, when I changed over the battle damaged jacket, I had these two bits come off. They are just glued on. So guys, when you're switching the jackets around, be more careful than I was, because I can easily glue these back on, but I shouldn't have to do that. That was a letdown for me. Alright guys, but without further ado, it is time to give my rating, and I am going to give a 9 out of 10 for this figure. And now a lot of that is down just to how pleased I am personally with it. As I did just point out, there are a couple of issues. One of them could be user error on my part, but the speckled skin, for me, I wish they would have done that a little bit smoother. Now, why is it not a 10? The head sculpt could be better. It's not a perfect 10 out of 10 likeness, therefore I can't give this a 10. And for me, the likeness is normally the most important aspect of a figure. Now, one last thing I'd like to bring up is we do have to kind of discuss the DX13, how it stacks up to this and vice versa, and which one should you choose. And I'm going to be honest, I can't answer that for you, because there are people that prefer the DX13. They think that likeness is better, and I can kind of see why. I completely understand that. You do get, of course, a T-1000 statue with that, which is a really nice accessory to get that you don't get with this one. So there is that to consider. I mean, for me, the leather outfit's enough of an upgrade, the diorama base is enough of an upgrade, and I prefer this likeness, so there's that as well. So it is hard to make a decision. Now, if you have the DX13, you might not feel the need to upgrade to this, but I can see as well why you would, because then you just get a more complete and larger collection. You can have one more battle damage, one less battle damage. I mean, they're going to look quite good next to each other. I think the sizes are relatively the same as well, although I may be wrong. And the DX13 is still a superb figure as well. It's one of Hot Toys' best ever made for a reason. But guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. So as always, thanks for sticking around. I hope you did make it to the end, and if you did, thank you so much. As always, this is Jim Collector, and I will see you in a future video.